program to bring you this important message.
Yo, it's Remember the Show. Slick with the flows, where the sparring can go. Who's gonna be on, man, you never will know. Guess you better tune in, cause we live from Chicago. Belal Muhammad, that's the king of the tweets. Jason Anik looks like John, step his hands to his feet. Every Thursday, we gonna give you a treat. It's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat. And retweet, and retweet, and retweet. And retweet, it's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat.
Welcome back. Episode 142, Remember the Show. Bully, if you're wondering, I do know every word of that open. I was just thinking as I was listening to it, and Cody Merrow, our producer, did that rap, but I remember every word of it. But great to see you, buddy. Jason Anik, joined by the undisputed welterweight champion of the world, Belal Muhammad. Dude, life's been crazy for you. You do look back home in Chicago. How are you? How's the weather? It's been a little chilly down here, but how's Chicago? A little chilly up there?
Bro, it's freezing. I was in Vegas the last 2 weeks, and it was still like 40 to 50 degrees out there, but it was a nice 40 to 50 degrees. It felt like summer. Right. Coming back here, we got off the plane yesterday. It was like midnight, and it was probably like 20 degrees, and me and Lou are out here freezing.
Oh, yeah. You're not a cold guy. You don't like the cold. We know that.
Yeah, dude. It's so annoying, bro. I'm like, even going to practice in the morning today, I'm just like, I want to just stay in bed, go to sleep, put a sweater on or something, and just like have an excuse to be lazy. But
right,
man,
but then,
I got hyped up training with the Russians. It put me back. It motivated me again. It gave me a nice little splurge where I got my body like awoken. Where now,
I like that.
Let's go. We're awake. Let's get back to work. Get back to the mind of the prize, and now my body's ready.
Well, Boston Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla talks about, get to do things, the opportunity to be able to do things, right? So no pick line in your arm when it's cold in the morning. Nice to be able to need to do what you need to do. As long as you stay off ththose icy stairs, we're good, right?
Dude, they're actually pretty good at salting them. They're really good at salting them. Like right away, you gotta salt them. We went there. We only had snow one time in Chicago this year so far, and we went to the stairs the day of the snow, and the guys were like already shoveling them and salting them already. And they were like, "Oh, could you guys give us at least 30 minutes to salt them?" But we were already out there, so we're like, "All right, we'll be fine."
I'm always trying to protect my daughters from injury, and I'm sort of the same with you. But anyway, dude, like, how's your health? I'm glad I haven't spoken with you in a while, somewhat intentionally, but I saw you in December, UFC 310. And we were talking about what it was like for you to do 50 push-ups, having not been able to do anything physical and not be able to sweat for several, months. So I know we'll get to what you've been doing out in Vegas, but like for you to be able to exercise again, like how you feeling? How's your health? Where you at?
Feeling good. It's finally like starting to come back. Training in Vegas and then being able to use the PI. I was doing the therapy and the PI every day just to get back. And that was always a good thing too, because I leave practice and I go do therapy. Leave practice, go do therapy. So I feel like my body's finally starting to wake up again and get back to normal. It was shocked a little bit going with Khabib and the guys right away, but because they don't care, bro. They don't care if brother. I was off 6 weeks, brother. That doesn't matter. You're at the gym, you train. It's time to work.
And you've said to me, even when you're in full sort of training mode, you better be in full training mode almost to work with those guys, right? And you didn't have that ability this time.
Yeah, I always say you got to be in a camp just to be a part of their camp. So if you're not in shape, don't even come to the practice. But man, it felt good. It just felt good to be with the guys, feel the energy in the room. 3 guys on that card. So it always feels good for you. Thank you, brother. It just feels good just to have that energy whenever there's a fight camp, and especially those guys over there to see their hunger, man. It just reminds you of how bad you want it. And then seeing Umar training for his first title fight, it reminded myself of how it was for my first title fight just a couple months ago. So seeing it all, just like it made me appreciate it all. And like you said, like we get to train every day, we get to work every day and do what I love every day.
Appreciate you all being with us. Appreciate the comments as well. And it really is interesting. You talk about sort of that boot camp nature of it at this particular stage of your life to be thrown into that gauntlet, right? So in terms of like your cardiovascular system, right? Whether it's going for a run or the stairs, like where are you at in terms of that? Is that starting to come back pretty quick, I would assume?
Yeah, it's coming. Like it wasn't there the first couple days I was there with them. But they'll wipe that out of you right away.
Right. Couple wall sits for 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then because the good thing about them is like we're having a good hard practice in the morning, and then at night you have to do some sort of cardio. It's either jogging, running, or even like they'll have like cardio workouts they do at night. But we're always doing something. I had Lou there with me, so Lou was holding pads for me at night. And it was just trying to get my body back to normal, right? Getting back into the mix of, all right, this is how it feels to train 2 days. This is how it feels to keep going and pushing yourself, even though you're sore and you're tired. And you don't want to look soft in front of those guys. So you never want to stop a practice a little bit early. But yeah, man, it feels good. My body finally feels like it's getting back to normal.
You're sweating a little bit, champ. Well, where would we come from?
No, a little bit of workout. Like I said,
of course.
I train in the morning here, with Nacho and them, and then I just got finished with some cardio right now in my house. So yeah, my 2025 starting off really good.
Let's go. Shout out Ignacio Bahamondes. Does he have a fight in the books that you?
Oof,
no. Oh, you can't.
Something's in the works.
Something brewing.
Really, really good, and I hope it goes through because that fight's going to be next level.
I'm excited. So lifting weights and your strength. And frankly, this is something I'd rather ask you in private, but I know you're not going to say anything you don't want to, but we sort of joked about what it was like for you to do push-ups and sort of be sore as like a regular human being after being so totally out of commission for a while. So how's your strength?
Good. It's getting there, right? After every practice, literally Khabib is either making us do like 3-minute push-up planks and then adding push-ups in it. So yeah, we're back in it. And then I was like, I don't want to look soft the next day. So I'm like, let me get push-ups in at the house. And we like, I'm in Vegas, but I don't really like do anything else. So like 90% of the stuff we were doing was, all right, practice, and then we'll go play paddleball. You ever play paddleball? I know you guys are pickleballers.
Oh boy, what's paddleball?
Dude, it's like pickleball, but with a tennis ball, and you can hit it off the walls.
Bro,
it's addicting. I think it's better than pickleball.
Yeah, see, I hear you. It sounds better, right? Yeah, pickleball, you smash it. There's holes in it. Don't even get me started. I think I played paddleball at camp. Yeah, tennis ball, more of a real sport. Once again, another activity I'd rather you stay away from as we are trying to build belts or little rubies on the belt, whatever they do. Anyway.
It's addicting. It's like so addicting. And then like the first time we went there, Khabib and then they played for like one game for like 3 hours. They're so competitive. They don't want to lose. So they played for that long.
Exercise too.
Lou just kept going to the paddleball court because it was right next to the Airbnb, and we're like, let's get good enough to be able to compete with them. And so we could be able to show ourselves against them.
I love it. All right, dude. Well, so moving on. So Khabib, our next topic, right? So you're training out there, obviously, with a couple guys that have championship fights that are imminent, right? So Umar, Islam, just go into it a little bit more. So Umar about to fight Merab. I mean, Umar, but minus 350. I know we're going to get to 311, but just talk about those two guys. I know you've been around Islam doing camps before. You were in Newark for a couple weeks, even before your camp, right? So what was it like sort of being around those two guys in particular, just watching them sort of get ready for what's a week away?
Man, it was good. Like the energy felt so good in the room. Everybody was motivating each other, pushing each other. To see Umar getting ready for his first fight, man, like it pissed me off a little bit just because him and Merab are like such good guys, right? They're like the nicest guys, but I feel like their fight has so much beef around it, and I was like, bro, both of you guys are like the nicest guys in the world, and I think it's gonna be such a good fight. For me, Umar is so good. Watching him in training, seeing everything he does, and he does everything so good, so well that I think he's gonna have to show everything this fight. If people are gonna be awake to see how good he really is, and I'm excited for him to show it. Obviously, Islam, pound for pound number one right now. I think that fight is huge because that first fight was so close. And people have, their excuses or what they think and how they think this fight will go. But I think Islam has gotten so much better since that first meeting with Arman. And even in that practice room, he looks so good. He's sharp every single practice. there wasn't a day where I looked at him and I was like, oh, he looks tired or he looks this. Khabib has these guys on point. And I think training in Vegas was a perfect place for them to train, right? Usually they train at AKA, but I think training in Vegas to be able to have the PI right there where they could get everything worked on. Shout out to Charles from the PI, the nutritionist. He was at every practice, making sure they have, the right shakes right after they're done training, keeping track of them, making sure that their levels and their testing is all done. So they're taking really good care of them. They look really good. Yesterday was their last sparring day, their hard sparring day on Wednesday, and they all look great. Even Tagir looked good, man. The biggest story I think is coming out from there is I feel bad for the younger kid that everybody's talking about, the Mahdi, the one that was hanging out with Merab, and then he hung out with he's in the camp with these guys, with Umar and them. But he's not really training with Umar like that. So I feel bad for him because people are calling him a traitor and they're saying like, oh, he's giving out secrets and things like that. But you know how Merab's going to fight. He's not going to do anything different. He's not going to do anything different. I feel bad for this kid because he's from Dagestan. And I know when he first came to America, Merab took him under his wing and he helped Merab in a lot of his camps. But it's just hard, right? Because it's fighting. It's a business. And you could be friendly. He's very friendly with everybody. But people are like putting him on this leash like, oh, you betrayed him and this and that. And I'm just like, he's such a young kid. He's an amateur fighter. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, have a heart. Think about it. If I'm from Chicago and Michael Jordan wants to play basketball with me, I'm going to play basketball with Michael Jordan. Khabib comes into town. He's from Dagestan. That's where you're from. You're going to want to train with the best person from your country, man. So it's like, you have to understand, you have to see that, like, there's no ill will from him at all. And I just feel bad that he's like caught in the middle of the whole thing.
I have a feeling that once the dust settles after the fight, he won't be caught in the middle of everything. And you talk about Merab and Umar, wish they didn't have to fight because they're good guys, so hopefully it'll work out for him too. One more thing before we move on to our next topic. How about former PFL middleweight champion Lewis Taylor in the mix? I'm used to maybe seeing Lou sometimes with the camera, like, unless I'm mistaken, Lou very involved in the training with Team Khabib out at the PI, yes?
Yeah, he was getting a lot of holding pads for a lot of the guys.
Yeah, looking lean.
A hard conditioning session. Shout out to Jamal Hill, who's also on that card in LA.
Let's go, champ.
With Jamal while he was out there, seeing him, he looks really good for the camp. His weight's really good, so I'm excited for him and Yuri. They're both in Vegas, so it's funny seeing both of them at the PI. But yeah, Lou's making his way back, especially with this new GFL coming out. Maybe Lou got one more left in him.
I can't believe you just said that. Yeah, continue. What is this, Global Fighters League? I don't know what the minimum age is, but for those of you who don't know about it, I don't know much. Talk to me. Any rumblings?
Like 48, right? And I think they just signed Yo Romero. I think they got Verdum on there. So
Arlovsky, I believe.
Tank. Yeah, they got some big ones in there. And the way they're doing it, it's going to be interesting how they run it, right? Because they're trying to run it like a real team. We had dinner with Anthony Pettis out there, and he's hyped up about it. They signed Anthony Pettis to the card, to the show. So he's telling me it's going to be a huge thing, and he likes the way the guy's thinking about it and the way the guy's vision is. Where I'm excited for it, especially with the way PFL looks like they're on a downward turn, right? Where they just cut their
$500,000 now, huh?
They cut their money in half now, $500,000, and it's like, no good things come when you're $500,000 and you have a lot of your champions saying, "Bro, release me. I don't want to fight." It's crazy, right? It's
tough. It is nice to hear out of the champion in the big show. But shout out LT out there. All right, UFC Fight Night 252, Seattle. Main event: Henry Cejudo, Song Yadong. This was just announced. Co-main event: Dominick Cruz, Rob Font. So Dominick Cruz, I just want to talk about Dominick Cruz for a minute. Dominick Cruz, my guy, right? He turns 40 on March 9th. Hasn't fought since August 13th, 2022. Everyone knows that was a loss to Chito Vera. Battled a lot of injuries, and I think a lot of these young fans, especially the pandemic UFC fans, may know Dom more as a commentator than the Dominator, right? One of the greatest bantamweight champions of all time, maybe the greatest of all time. So I love Rob Font, right, from Woburn, Massachusetts. We could talk about the main event in a minute, but for Dominick Cruz, I'm so excited for Dom. It's a fight night. John and I are both going to be able to go to Seattle and be able to be with Dom and watch Dom. So talk to me a little bit. You've been with us with Dom, gotten to know Dom a little bit, but you could talk to me even about the matchup with him and Fonts. I think it's a good matchup. Dom's going to be 40, Fonts getting older. I like it.
He's announced that this is going to be his final fight.
Cody was saying some things off the top. Maybe that was announced at some point. Would not surprise me at all if that was the case.
Yeah, for me, it's like you said, a lot of people don't know how good he was. He was one of the best to do it, especially with his style and being different. Like, there's not a lot of fighters that were the ones to be different at first. He was always the first one to change up the footwork, change up the way, the style of punching, changing everything. He was putting the art into mixed martial arts. So many of the earlier guys, they would all fight the same exact way. You have to fight, all right, we have to go to Muay Thai class. You have to fight it this exact way. You have to wrestle this exact way. And then Dom came with his own style, and he was a dominant champion for so long. But the crazy injuries, right? And even after those, what was it, like 2 years off, and then he came back and then beat Dillashaw again and reminded people how good he was. So we've seen him come off of long layoffs and still win and still look dominant. So I'm excited to see how he comes back this one, because Font looked good his last fight, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Upset Kyler Phillips, big performance. And it's been a while for Dom. I certainly think Dom's going to be quicker perhaps, and I think can do some things with that footwork. But I'll just say, I think Dom as a friend, right, misunderstood in a lot of ways, super, super, super bright and warm, and one of the most honest people I've ever come across. You talk about, excuse me, I think my brother tweeted out something about devotion versus loyalty, and people that are devoted to you just tell you what you want to hear. People that are loyal to you tell it like it is. And Dominick Cruz, you can be sure, tells it like it is. And I'll be rooting for my boy no matter how much love I have for Rob Font. Main event, Henry Cejudo, Song Yadong. I will say, would have rather see Dom rematch Cejudo. So views it. Next is his final one. So now that's in print. I've, for a long time, we thought this was probably going to be Dom's last fight. So Cody, I appreciate you putting that up there. Dom, main event though, quick, Cejudo, Song Yadong. Wouldn't you kind of have rather seen Cejudo Dom rematch? I don't know how many more Cejudo has left.
I wonder if they were close to even making that fight, because that one made a lot more sense, especially the way the first fight went. And I could also see it as, I don't know, if Dom wins and then Cejudo wins, I could see that fight being next. Like, if I'm Dom and I get a chance to right that wrong, I would want to take that fight, right? Just make sure that Keith Peterson is not the ref, and let's run it back. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting fight. That just tells me that Cejudo still thinks he's still in the mix, because Song Yadong's such a young prospect. He's so good everywhere, and for Cheeto just to want to test himself against those guys, it tells me that he doesn't think that he's at the end of the road. He still thinks that he can be a title challenger, title contention. And just one big win over Song will get you there.
Yeah.
Basically, it's an interesting matchup, just because Song got really good takedown defense. He got really good boxing, really good hands. And Cejudo looked slow his last couple of fights. But they were against the best in the world. So I think if Cejudo's really hungry, gets right back to training hard, and has that same hunger that he had before he was champion and before he retired, maybe we'll see the old Cejudo again.
Yeah, and you can be sure I'm looking at it from a Dominick Cruz lens when I talk about the Cejudo Cruz matchup, right? So your points are very well taken. All right, moving on. UFC 311. Let's get back to that, right? So we'll get back to Umar versus Dawalish Willie, but I want to talk before. You know what? I'm going to even go further back than I wanted. The card is stacked, bro. You're going out Wednesday?
Yeah, I'll be out there Wednesday.
Shout out everyone in LA right now, by the way. And I know there are people suffering all over the world. So I'm not trying to, I know this world is madness right now, but what's going on in LA is crazy right now. And mad love to everybody in the world. But we are heading out there. I think we'll see if it's still in Inglewood, or maybe they move it back to Vegas, but you're heading out on the 15th Wednesday. We're going to be doing some stuff for Fight Pass, I believe, mixed in. I'm sure the champ's going to be busy.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week. Like you said, shout out to everybody in LA right now. Like, seeing that the house is burning right now, it's crazy, right? Because you wouldn't expect it. You would expect it to be different here. But it's this world is nuts right now. So I'm praying that everything's going to be okay, and we'll still be able to go out there and still be able to work the event. But Yeah, I think I'll be out there Wednesday. We'll see what they have in store for us. We saw the arena and the new Netflix WWE show.
Yeah.
That was the first time in there, and we saw the arena. The arena looks sick.
Dude.
CM Punk, shout out to CM Punk. He won his first match there on Netflix, and I like the way it looks. I don't know if the UFC is still in talks with Netflix to move us there, but that would be interesting because they look really good. The streaming was really well, and there was no freezing or anything like that. It looked hot.
Well, and I think Jamal Hill was there at a Clippers game, and he's going to be fighting there. But a brand new arena in Los Angeles, California. Give me all of it. I can't wait to get out there. The fight card's just stacked. So Renato Moicano, Beneil Dariush. Moicano's minus 240. Beneil Dariush is plus 165. We may be doing some picks on Fight Pass. And I'm kind of going to throw you under the bus because we're not even getting to Bully's Bicks. But Moicano's favored. He's on a nice track. You would say maybe one guy sort of on his way to a championship, but Beneil Dariush is a legitimate championship contender. There were times where we talked about him in very much the same conversation as we did Belal Muhammad with that long streak. He's more in the Ferguson conversation, didn't ever get that championship realized. But who do you like, if you don't mind me asking, Moicano, Dariush?
This is a fight that a lot of people aren't talking about, but it's so good, right? It's going to be so interesting, especially how dominant Moicano has been looking recently and how good he looked that last fight, but you're not going to be able to do that to Dariush. His grappling is so good. His scrambling ability is so good, and his striking is so good, right? He's lost, 2 in a row, but who was it to? Charles Oliveira and Arman, and those two are at the top of the division, two of the best in the division, and it sucks, right? Because he did have that long streak. He deserved the title fight. And it would have been a different matchup with him in Islam, comparatively to those other two fights. But I think for him with this fight, I like this matchup for Dariush.
I like that you like that. By the way, you look. By the way, you like my old school Bully?
Yeah,
yeah, always, right. And I like it a little bit faded here. But you look a little tougher than you did coming off the injury, Bully. You look a little tougher today than you did.
I got my nose cut again 2 days ago. So
what's that?
I got my nose cut again 2 days ago. I think that scar's gonna be there forever.
That's all right. We're not gonna be looking like Khalil Roundtree Jr., I hope. No disrespect to Khalil. But moving on, right? Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill, pick 'em pretty much. Dude, I mean, look, I know I'm a broken record, but certain guys I've gotten to know better than others. You can be sure I haven't broken bread with Yuri Prochazka, right? I like Jamal Hill a lot. I've gotten to know Jamal. I'll be rooting for my guy, Jamal. Huge fight for Jamal to put himself back in the picture. And I just want to say to you, before I ask you about this fight, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I genuinely believe that, like, in that fight with Pereira, Jamal was like, not quite back into the fight after that little stop in the action. I'm not suggesting it would have ended any differently, but he wasn't, he was sort of not quite back into it yet. I'm on that side of it. I'm on an island, maybe just me and sweet dreams. But anyway, pick 'em fight. Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill. Talk to me.
No, I think a lot of people will look at Jamal and they'll look at him and they'll be like, oh, he's giving excuses, or he's giving this, or he's giving that. But these are real things, right? There was a stop in action. Even for him, I thought he came back a little bit too soon after the Achilles injury, right? Because you're coming off the injury, you get cleared, and then all of a sudden you have a camp, and 6 weeks later you're fighting. So I think all those things play a big factor. I think the Jamal Hill that we're going to see in this card is the real Jamal Hill. The Jamal Hill that's going to remind you of how good he was when he beat Glover Teixeira, when he went out there to Brazil and dominated him. And he looked so good in that fight, and people just forget about it, right? They'll just look at your last fight. They always look at your last performance. For this fight, I think Yuri, he plays a little bit too much with his hands down. He plays the karate style, the hit me, I'm going to hit you right back. We saw those type of fighters like Tony Ferguson, where at some point your chin gives up. He's gotten knocked out 2 of his last 3 fights now. So I think there's a guy you don't want to get hit by. It's Jamal Hill. He's so fast. He hits so good. Just sparring with him, I'm like, bro, all right, chill. I thought we were gonna go a little bit lighter, but when he goes lighter, it hurts. Like his light is still like getting hit by a truck. So, and he looks good, he feels good, and he knows that a win here can get him right back in the mix. There is history between him and Pereira, and even that little scuffle at the gym where he's like, I'm going to fight for money. Like all these little things will build up to a rematch between them two. And if he goes out there and gets a huge performance to start the year against Yuri, knocks him out, after Ankalaev, there's really nobody else next for Pereira when you're thinking about it.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see how smart Yuri fights. Because I think Jamal has a great chance to pick him apart. We'll see what happens. You can be sure that one's going to be electric. I love when men that size get in there and we're sitting octagon size, man. It's electric.
The thing with me is when Yuri was like, he was thinking about going to 185.
Mm-hmm.
So it tells me when you're thinking about different weight classes, this like you're not fully committed to it. Do you think you're too small for a 205? And that gives you that way out, right? Because if he goes out here and loses to Jamal Hill, it's like, all right, now I'm really gonna go 185. And I can see that as like a mental handicap on yourself.
I like it. So the co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili, Umar Nurmagomedov. And I love Merab, gotten to know him, mad respect for Merab. I would never count Merab out. But it's hard for me not to think that, you know, when he's sort of clamoring for other opponents other than Umar along the way, that perhaps, you know, Umar being minus 350 and Merab at plus 220, what I saw on DraftKings today. Doesn't that kind of jive with Merab? I hate to say it, but kind of maybe. I know the timetable isn't ideal, but maybe the opponent not necessarily ideal for Merab. Am I going too far?
No, I think just stylistically, when you're looking at the division, I think Umar is the worst matchup for Merab. Umar is, even with wrestling, and he has way better striking than Merab, I think. But Merab, like you said, he's a dog, and he always figures out a way. And his cardio, I think, is still the best in division comparatively to everybody else. And when it comes down to cardio and it comes down to heart, Merab's up there with everybody in the UFC. But I just think that stylistically, when I'm looking at this matchup, I think Umar is just so good. And when it comes to the point of cardio, Umar's cardio is up there with him. His wrestling's up there with him. But he has the edge in striking. And I think he has the edge in submission game as well. But it's fight night, right? It's who shows up that fight night, who goes out there and under the bright lights lets everything go. This is going to be Umar's second 5-round fight in the UFC. He looked so good his first 5-round fight, beating a guy like Corey Sandhagen. And a lot of that fight was striking. It shows you how good he is and how ready he is for the top of the division. People will say, oh, he was given this or given that, but he beat Corey Sandhagen, who was on a streak before that. And if Corey Sandhagen won that fight, he was going to be the next guy in line. Yeah. So it's not Umar's fault that a lot of these guys won't accept the fight with him or didn't want to fight him. It's whoever the UFC gives you. If they offer you the title fight, of course you're going to take it. I don't think there's no disrespect between these guys, but Merab, it was just like, oh, he was disrespecting me. But I'm like, you want to fight for the belt. They're going to call you. Everybody's going to call you out. Like people are telling me like, oh, this guy called you out. Oh, Buckley called you out. I thought you guys were cool. I'm like, we're cool, but he wants what I have, right? Everybody wants what I have. I'm the man at the top and they all want my spot. So I know that. So I don't take it as disrespect. I just take it as, all right, well, come and try to take it.
So some people thought after you realized your championship on July 27th that December 7th was even too soon for you, right? To defend your title. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That was an ideal timetable for you if you didn't get injured. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for me, I was ready. Like I said, I'm a guy that's always in the gym. I'm always training. So if my body's healthy, I want to be in there. I want to be in the cage. Like I don't like to take time off. I'd rather fight because I'm best when I'm fighting back to back and I'm fighting 3 or 4 times a year. That's when I feel good. So up until that point, it was like, I'm ready for this fight. I'm excited for this fight. You know, then injury happens.
Yeah, well, and the timetable for you obviously was less tight than it is for Merab. And Aljamain Sterling, when he fought Sean O'Malley in Boston, that was not ideal circumstances. There was documentation on UFC Inc. or whatever that was, seeing some of the meetings, and so Aljo takes it under non-ideal circumstances. Then you have Merab sort of taking this on perhaps a timetable that doesn't work for him, even shorter than you. And if it's the opponent that's the most dangerous for him, and he's not like you necessarily, Merab, and wants it at this time, like how does he flip that switch? Or for a guy like Merab, is it just easy to flip the switch?
It's for him, I don't know. That's why it's hard to get a read on him, right? Because he's doing a lot of complaining. And when it came down to Dana White announcing the fight, and he was like, Merab came into the office and he asked for this fight. He told us, I want this fight. He's calling me out. I want to show him. And it was like, it got you thinking, man, Merab's ready for this fight. He's excited for it. But then he went on his interview after that, and he was like, I wanted to have the holidays. I can't spend the holidays with my family. I was going to go to Spain. I was going to do this. I was going to do that. And when people think about like mentality and speaking stuff into existence, right? If you're giving yourself that mindset of, I didn't want this fight. I didn't want to be here right now. I shouldn't have took it like this. You got to erase all that, because once your name is on a contract, once you have a date, that's it. You committed to it fully. And for me, and hearing him and seeing the way he's talking about it, I don't think he's fully committed to it. And I think that it's another one of those things where you're self-handicapping yourself. And if, say, you lose the fight, it's like, because I didn't want to. I shouldn't have took the fight there. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have did that. And you never want to go into any fight with that type of mindset. You never want to go into any camp with that type of mindset. And he was going through every camp and those hard days of practice where you don't want to go to second practice and you're like, I know I shouldn't have took this fight. I know I shouldn't have did this. I know I shouldn't have did that. You're not going to have that motivation. But if you had the motivation, like, I want this fight. Umar's training, I want to out-train him. He's doing 2 practices, I want to do 3 practices. That's the type of mindset you want to have if you're a champion, if you want to be at the top of your game, and if you want to feel the best you're going to feel on that date. I just don't know where his mindset is right now, just because what he's putting out there, it was a lot of complaining.
And becoming the champion of the world, right? And he did it at Sphere, mid-September, right? October, November, December, bang, January. Next thing you know, February, you're huge underdog. Your championship reign can be very much a blip. And so I do think it is sort of interesting, but look, he has an opportunity to shut everybody up and make this gambling line laughable if he can defend his belt. Going to be fascinating. I can't wait to be in the building with you. All right, main event, Islam Makhachev, Arman Sarwar. It's amazing. We're not even doing Bully's Bicks, but I'm like treating it like Bully's Bicks. So lightweight title bout. The line, Islam, even a fatter line, minus 450 I'm seeing. Sarwar plus 275. Belal, I mean, I know your team Khabib, team Islam, team Umar. So I'll ask you it this way. How does Arman find a way to beat Islam? What would you do if you're Arman? Well, I guess you're not going to disclose anything, but how does Arman win?
I think that Arman, the only way I see Arman path to victory is trying to catch him. Because I just think that Islam is just so good. You're not going to out-grapple him. You're not going to outstrike him to a decision. And if it hits the ground, we've seen how Charles almost caught Arman in a couple submissions in that fight. And to me, I think Islam has better jiu-jitsu than Charles in the fight game. We've seen Islam sub Charles. So I think in those spots where Charles was close to finishing the fight, I think that Islam will finish the fight. And I think that Islam is motivated now to, end that narrative of how close that first fight was. I think I saw an interview where Arman was like, he doesn't really care about fighting, right? He said, I don't care about fighting. That's the difference between me and them is they need a win. I don't really care if I win or lose. And I don't know, that's not the mindset I want from somebody that's going for the first title fight, right? I'm all in. This is what I have. There's no plan B.
Right.
I think for him to have that, like, I don't really care attitude, you're not going to do all that extra work. You're not going to push yourself past your limits because you need to go past your limits to beat a guy like Islam.
Yep. Hey, by the way, plan A, Bully. It worked out great. Plan A. You did it. You did it. Plan A worked out great for you. No plan B necessary, champ. All right. Bully's Bicks are actually for this weekend's card, Bully. We're going to give you a couple. We're not doing straight up co-main main event because anytime I see the name of someone that you fought before, I like to start there. But Cody, show us the green screen. Let's get to Bully's Bicks. So we'll pick the main event, Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Ribas, but Chris Curtis is on the card, and we have to pick Chris Curtis. And you know what? Remember the show, episode 142. For those of you joining us, we certainly appreciate you. But for those of you that haven't joined us since Belal became champion, you were amateur when you fought Chris Curtis. Can you please tell us quickly again? I like hearing this story every time.
No, I was an amateur. We're just I was 6-0 pro at the time, and I fought locally in Indiana against him. I think he was like 13-2 at the time. But
what weight?
Yeah,
What weight?
170. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Now I've seen him. He's not making 170 again. Like
No
I saw
way.
the PI the other day, and I was like, bro, you're like, he's thick. And he's like,
Oh,
bro, I used to kill myself to make 170. I'm not doing that again. He added a lot of muscle, I think, for this fight. He thought he was a little bit smaller for 185, so he's putting on a lot of muscle. You know, his last fight against Brendan Allen was close, right?
yep.
It was very close. I think he tore his hamstring
Oh,
or
that's right.
fourth or fifth round during that fight. I was there for that fight. This one's interesting, right? Against Roman, who's really good striker, really good kicking, has strong kicks, strong knockout power. But I think Curtis has been there with a lot of strikers. We've seen him go against, you know, the kickers or the agile guys. He knocked out
Imavov even, you know.
Yeah, he's been in there with a lot better competition, I think, than Roman. And I do think it's just going to be all stand up. I think it's going to be a striking match. And Roman's not really he doesn't have a lot of high volume. I think that's going to be good for Curtis because he's going to be able to make his reads on his counters with his boxing and maybe catch Roman. I think I'm going to go with Curtis here. I think he looked good. I saw him last weekend. He looked good at the gym. He feels good. He's excited to get back in there. He does have a big boxing style, and I think Roman's going to come hard with kicks. But I think that Curtis will be able to make a read and catch him on one of those kicks.
And I know you got love for Chris Curtis, especially now since he's out of the Sean Strickland business. You must love him even more now, right? I can't imagine conversations between you and Curtis and Nixick now. I don't even want to go down that road. But this line, I'll say, Bully, like I saw it earlier in the week, Kopylov minus 270, right? There it is, HFC 21. Chris Curtis loses to Remember the Name Muhammad. So Remember the Name. The reason I brought it up, wasn't there like he had some beef post-fight or something? I mean,
yeah, before the fight, he like at the weigh-ins, he acted like he was gonna slap me. And I was like trying to talk beef, like, oh, I'm not gonna gain nothing from beating this guy. And I was like, bro, we're fighting locally. I never even knew who you were at all. And then during the fight, I took his back at the end in the third round. I just started slapping him. But there's no beef anymore. Me and Curtis are cool.
of course not. Of course not.
Petty dude. I'm a petty dude. If you start talking trash to me, I'm going to go even harder on you.
No, well, hey, good opportunity for Curtis as an underdog here. Kopilov's 1-5 of 6. We'll see what happens, but I always got to bring that up. And Brian Peachy, who makes picks on the Anik and Florian podcast, that's where this show airs. He and Curtis are tight. Not as tight as me and my boy Bully, though. Come on now. Main event of the evening. Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Ribas. Dern plus 160. Ribas minus 192. This is a rematch. Ribas won a unanimous decision back in 2019, a long time ago. No, I'm not really rooting for a draw, but like I like them both. I don't like seeing Amanda Ribas lose, although she's like the greatest when she loses on the microphone. I
yeah,
feel.
Right.
She's alternated wins and losses over her last 8, lost a unanimous decision to Rose Namajunas. That was on March 23rd. Favored here big time, surprises me a little bit. She tends to beat the fighter she's supposed to beat, Ribas, right? Struggles against the elite. We mentioned the loss to Thug Rose. The other 3 most recent losses, Macy Barber, Chukagian, Marina Rodriguez, right? Quality opponents. Dern bounced back from a couple losses with a unanimous decision win versus Lupi Godinez. That was in Abu Dhabi back in August. Oh, you were there, right? You were there the week with the belt, right? A week after. Dude wanted to come back to Chicago, but no, he went to Abu Dhabi. But it was all gravy at that point, wasn't it, Bully? Anyway. Talk to me, man. Who do you like? I have no idea where you're going here.
Yeah, this one's interesting, right? It's a rematch. Ribas won the first one. I think Ribas, like you said, she loses to the elite of the elite. But I do think she's getting better every single fight. Mackenzie Dern, on the other hand, I think she's good at what she's good at. Her ground game is elite. She's best when it hits the ground. But her stand-up, it doesn't seem like she's growing with it. It doesn't seem like she's getting better with it. Some fights, it looks okay. And then some fights, it looks like she went backwards. And I think that, for me, I think Ribas is going to be able to stay on the outside and keep it on the feet. I don't think that Mackenzie Dern does a good job of setting up her takedowns. She'll go for the patented women's headlock a lot of the time. But I don't think she's going to be able to hit on Ribas, who I think has a judo background as well. But I like Ribas here. I think her striking is going to be a little bit crisper than Dern. If it hits the ground, I think Amanda is also a black belt, so she'll be able to get herself up. Being 5 rounds, I like Ribas here to outpoint her.
I like it. Shout out Punahele Soriano fighting on this card. I think Cody wants me to pronounce his opponent's name. I think it's Uroš Medic. If whatever, that's decent. Doesn't sound terrible, but he's minus 218. Puna's an underdog. Man, I'm rooting for Puna. We got a shout out, brother Bully. Someone looking for a shout out.
Blue collar hanger from Fresno, the world.
Fresno, man. I don't know exactly where you're at. Hopefully no fires out there, but shout you out.
Yeah, I mean, Puna's out here. Also, Christian Rodriguez. He's another undefeated prospect that he's going against. They keep giving this guy undefeated wrestler.
He beat Rosas Jr., didn't he?
Yeah, he beat Rosas Jr. And, he was on a good streak in the UFC. He just lost his last fight. Got caught with that guillotine. But I like him here. He's going against another hot prospect, I think 11 or 12-0. And he's the big underdog, I think, as well.
Yeah, plus 180.
But Christian's, he's fought these grapplers.
Oh, I don't know what Christian Rodriguez is. Take a peek at that. But, dude, so we're going to get out there Wednesday night. What else you got going on out there? Have you been to Los Angeles? I lived there for 3 years. I love L.A., baby. I love L.A. You could be sure. And a lot of people in this country don't love California. Sorry, folks. I do love L.A., but I'm excited to get out there, man. It's going to be interesting to see if that event does move, though. It wouldn't surprise me, given what's going on out there.
Yeah, I think I went to the Anaheim card, but yeah, I was never really like in LA and LA. Yeah. But I'm excited. I want to go to the Young LA gym that's out there. So while we're out there, we'll get some working out there.
Yes.
Get the Lakers game or something. I don't
know.
I'm
okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
A burrito.
Can I wear a green sweatshirt? Oh, Bully, I can bring you to some spots, man. You could be sure I can bring you to some spots. Anything else from you, champion of the world, before we get out of here on a Thursday night?
Yeah, man, just excited for the new year. Excited to get a date. Excited to get back in there, man. And shout out to everybody that supports me and pushes with me. And shout out to my team. I don't give my team enough shine, man. We got the best team in the world here in Chicago. And I think that we're going to have another big year for Coach Mike Valley. Shout out to Kenny Florian for making him Coach of the Year. He
absolutely deserved, as well as MMA Junkie. And you know what's great about Mike Valley is when people start to actually listen to him talk, everybody's mesmerized because a lot of people haven't heard him talk that much. He's not that vocal in the corner, even though I love me some Mike Valley in the corner. But yeah, I love it. And War Academy, what's going on? They get some one-on-one training with you?
War Room, yeah, we have it's an online academy. We're doing so right now we just have 10 slots, so we're only opening it up to 10 people just so we can give them the right attention that they need. There's a lot of guys. We have a couple guys that want to just have different goals, right? Some people that want to learn fighting, some people want to learn how to lift weights, some people just want to lose weight, and some people just want a mindset. We're doing all the training in there. So it's me, my team. We're doing it. We're going to be working one-on-one with you guys online. So if you guys are interested, go to my page, War Room Academy, and then fill out the application because we're not just picking anybody. We're picking people that, we could really help.
And a perfect time for the president of Team Muhammad, Faryal Muhammad. Before we close, we need a moment to celebrate Belal and being recognized for the Confident Muslim Award, a prestigious honor and recognition, truly the people's champion. Thank you for that. Love you, Faryal. That's great stuff.
Appreciate you. Yeah, no, I just did an event with Umar Suleiman, who's one of the biggest sheikhs in the world right now. So it was huge in Chicago. So it felt good to be able to go up there and talk to him. When they called me for it, I was just like, yeah, for sure, I'm down. And then I get over there and it's like 3,000 seats in there beforehand. And I was like, bro, I thought this was supposed to be a small speaking gig. But
dude, that's your gig though, man. Yeah, right. Cool. No problem walking out in front of thousands of people to try and protect yourself from getting killed, right?
That's easier. That's easier than putting words together.
Dude, that's just crazy. But I love it, dude. And I will say, sorry if I'm bringing this up, but I got a copy of Newsweek magazine, which was a tribute to several Muslims. And my copy was missing my boy. I don't know exactly what happened there. Sorry if I'm poking a button here. But yeah, my copy of Newsweek, it was, I think, the most influential Muslims of however many, in a growing Muslim American influential world and some influential Muslim Americans. And Belal Muhammad didn't grace my cover. I was disappointed about that.
Wake up, Newsweek.
Come on now. Anyway, see you in a couple days, I guess, 6 days. But enjoy the fights this weekend, as are we. How happy are we with UFC fights back in our lives? I'm an NFL fan, but I know a lot of these UFC cats, combat sports, don't give a fuck about other sports. Excuse my language. Perfect time for me to drop that. My kid's sleeping. For Cody Merab at the helm and the welterweight champion of the world, Belal Muhammad, my name is Jason Anik. We appreciate you. Mad love to everybody out in LA. We'll see y'all next Thursday. Have a great night.